Have you been banned from training your biceps because your coach thinks it will stuff your bench? And do you find yourself closet curling in the bathrooms at the gym? Or do you hate that you're yet to grow that literal horseshoe shape on the back of your arm? This video may be the answer that you need to train your arms to benefit your powerlifting. All right, so arm training is something that is, I guess, avoided in powerlifting quite a fair bit because obviously we're focusing on three main lifts, the squat, bench press, and deadlift. So it kind of gets overlooked most of the time, but really arm training is something that we should include in all our powerlifting programs, not just because of hypertrophy and having big arms really helps with, say, bench, but for restoring health throughout the entire upper body and its joints, respectively. So today I'm going to go over the triceps and the biceps. Very basic and simple. I'm going to just elaborate on some things that we do here at Hunter Performance Center to ensure that our athletes get the most out of their arm training, just so it purely benefits their powerlifting. Because with powerlifting being that it's a sport where most of our lifters end up being really depressed through the scapula and also downwardly rotated in some cases, arm training can be really beneficial to help, I guess, restore those positions of the scap and therefore avoid things like elbow pain, bicep pain, shoulder pain, forearm pain, whatever it may be, through just direct arm training. So today we'll be starting with triceps and then we'll move on to biceps. I didn't get my pen license in high school, so sorry for the messy writing. But the main head of the tricep that we really want to be focusing on just for today for your general powerlifting coach who wants to integrate some more arm training in your programming is the long head of the tricep, okay? All these heads cross over the elbow or have some sort of relationship to the elbow, but the majority of the time when I'm looking to program triceps into a powerlifting program, it's to manipulate the long head, okay? Because the long head attaches to the scapula, and the scapula obviously has a lot to do with powerlifting in general, where we're looking to put the arms in certain positions through positioning that scapula. So the long head of the tricep is this one all the way under here, and you can see that it attaches to the border here of the scapula. We also have the lateral head, which is the one that we see hang on the outside of shirts, just here, and then the medial head is just tucked away underneath here. But as I said, the long head of the tricep is the one that's going to manipulate and probably be the most considered when we're programming for powerlifting. So the important thing to understand when we're training these heads is that they all contribute to internal rotation of the entire arm, okay? So if I'm going to fully lock my arms, the whole arm is going to internally rotate as a result of the contraction of these joints. When we bench press and we're looking to press through towards lockout, we're going to experience more relative internal rotation at the lockout where the triceps are going to be really shortened than what we are at the bottom. So what we tend to find in a general population of people who train and experience pain in the shoulder or through, I guess, the elbow, is that their long head of the tricep essentially isn't experiencing a full range of motion and it's working way too hard where the scapula isn't actually able to adopt a proper position in depression. So how can we actually, I guess, avoid that from happening? Well, we're going to look at probably directly training our triceps and actually getting them to experience a full range of motion where they can lengthen completely and then shorten completely as well. So one of our go-to exercises where you can actually experience a full range of motion through all heads of the tricep, but mainly the long head, is by just doing a simple tricep kickback. We're going to be doing a cable today because not only is the load constant, but it allows you to experience that full eccentric loading where the long head's going to be stretched as much as it can. And then that stretching where it attaches to the scapula is going to help pull it down and eventually get your scapula into a position to hopefully promote more depression when you're benching and then therefore reducing shoulder pain if you experience any. So generally speaking, for reps and numbers and stuff like that, usually we would finish our triceps at the end of like an upper body workout and you do 3 to 4 sets of anywhere between 10 to 15 reps at RPE 7 to 8. And basically it looks something like this. To begin with, you probably want to try and make sure that the load's relatively light. The cable is right at the top of the pulley. And essentially what you're going to be doing is going to be standing directly under, so therefore the cable is straight, okay? This is going to allow you to actually have your elbow in full flexion, and then therefore that tricep is going to be in a lengthened position. Grab hold of the upright to create some more stability. And as you're extending your elbow, the main thing is, and as mentioned at the start of this video, when we're benching, when we're extending our elbows, when we're doing anything that involves the triceps, we want to internally rotate. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. As I'm extending my elbow, I'm turning my arm inward, and I'm thinking about getting my palm back to the wall behind me, okay? So it will look something like this. The main thing is as well, is that you keep your elbow tucked in by your side, okay? You're not flaring out like this and doing them. You're keeping them adducted and tucked in by the side of your body. So full range of motion all the way up and all the way down. Cool. The next one is going to be a tricep kickback again, but in a different position where I'm going to be more horizontal with my torso to the floor. Now, the reason why we want to get parallel to the floor is just so we can experience some more shoulder extension. Okay, so for some lifters, they have limitations in shoulder extension when they bench. So being more parallel to the floor and driving that elbow back in shoulder extension is going to not only improve that range of motion, but more specifically target that tricep at a different angle where it has to lengthen even further to pull that scapula down. So drop the pulley all the way down. You're gonna basically grab hold of the carabiner. You're gonna hold the upright for stability. You're gonna sit back a little bit more, get your parallel torso to the ground. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna drive so your humerus is also parallel to the floor. And then from there, you're going to kick back and turn in. Okay, so exactly like the tricep extension when you're standing up, you're turning in the entire time. You'll notice as well that when I'm extending my arm, I'm turning my palm to the ceiling. This is so then I can still get some pronation through my forearm and hand, as well as internal rotation through my humerus, which will get full range of motion through those triceps. So remember, when we're benching, we want the horse and carriage, as I like to call it, to move together. We want pronation of the forearm and hand, okay? We also want to experience some more IR of the humerus, which will therefore allow both the elbow and shoulder joint to move freely together with the triceps bending and obviously contracting to allow that full range of motion to occur. All right, so biceps now. This is something that creates a lot of controversy in powerlifting programming because obviously we don't really use our biceps much when we powerlift to exert, I guess, force. So they get a little bit neglected, and it's a massive, I guess, misconception because the main thing about bicep training is that it can actually still, similar to training the triceps, have an influence on the position of the scapula. So the way that I like to think about bicep training is it's something that should be just included to avoid, I guess, any sort of injuries that can occur when it comes to maybe tennis elbow or golfer's elbow, some people may call it, or even just general, I guess, forearm pain and direct bicep pain as well. So something we like to do here at Hunter Performance Center is, I guess, directly train the biceps or just get more range of motion through isometric positions. With the bicep, again, both heads attached to the scapula, and the big role that they play is that they help anteriorly tilt the scap over the rib cage. Okay, so we're thinking about when we squat, and the reason why we get bicep pain is because that scapula isn't anteriorly tilting enough, and then therefore we're in that low bar position. Our biceps are pulling so hard to try and get that scap to come forward, but because the scapula isn't doing its job, because we are already depressed when we bench press, we're already depressed when we deadlift, it's overstimulated in that position, and therefore it makes it really difficult for us to actually adopt a position where the scapula can just sit forward a bit more and then offset the biceps. So if you're experiencing low bar pain in your biceps, I'd recommend just looking at trying to do some anteriorly tilting exercises to obviously avoid that pain. So that's really how we integrate bicep training in our programming. It's just to essentially, in my experience, avoid that sort of pain in your powerlifting. So how are we going to train these biceps? It simply just comes down to being able to find a position where we can actually get the scapula more upwardly rotated and forward. And that's going to allow the scapula to move through a full range of motion through training your biceps. All right, so there are a number of exercises you can do to train your biceps that can benefit your powerlifting. But the ones that I find most effective for my clients and for the coaches here at Hunter Performance Center is by doing a simple preacher curl. There are a number of ways you can do a preacher curl. If you don't have a machine like this, you can do something like a spider curl where you lay on an incline and you can hang off it with your chest to the bench. You can do a GHR curl where you can mount the GHR through the middle, and where your legs go, you put your armpits over and you can curl like so. Or you can do like a squatted variation of a cable curl with the cable pulley right down the bottom, and you can get pulled forward by a straight bar. But it depends on just what equipment availability you have. As long as you're getting the positions that you need to train your biceps so you don't experience pain, which should be part of your powerlifting program, that's all they're really there for, okay? So remember, we're looking for protraction of the scap, upward rotation, and some anterior tilting. So if we can get into all those positions, we should be able to train our biceps more effectively to limit, pain from occurring when you are doing that low bar squat or when you are doing that bench press. So this is a preacher curl machine. It's pretty straightforward because you can just pretty much sit in it. But the main thing is that you want to get your rib cage right up against the pad, okay, of the actual bench itself. Then you want to make your arms as long as you can. This is a pretty cool drill, but for example, if I bend my elbows here, and if I turn my arm inward, you'll see that my bicep head gets longer, okay? And it becomes more floppy. That's based on the fact that I'm pronating my arm and I'm internally rotating my humerus when I do that, okay? And if you think about it, when you go to squat and you're in this position, obviously you're not gonna be supinated, you're gonna be pronated. And that therefore means that your bicep is going to be stretched and lengthened as much as it possibly can, because you can see that it literally gets longer when I pronate. Therefore, your scapula has to be really good at anteriorly tilting to allow that lengthening of the bicep to occur, okay? So in this position here, we're going to be thinking about getting the scap forward as much as we can. And we're gonna be looking at trying to make sure that when we're curling, we're staying forward and we're keeping our scaps forward as we bring our hands towards our face and all the way down. If you're feeling like you're struggling to feel like one part of your bicep compared to the other, the thing you can do is you can move your arms in different positions, okay? Just to target different parts of the bicep. But the main thing is as I mentioned, we want to train the bicep to put the scapula in a better position to lift, okay? That's why we train our biceps for powerlifting, all right? So you can move around into different positions to see what benefits, what feels best to get your scapula into the right position. The last exercise, which I find incredibly useful, is just doing a simple isometric hold. So not only do you get relief through this exercise, but you can still promote that position that we want to try and achieve when we are squatting, where bicep pain predominantly occurs. And that's just by doing a hold in a push-up position where our elbows are fully extended and we're looking to externally rotate, supinate our forearm and push our ribs back to the ceiling, okay? So it will look something like this. You want to get your hands completely flat to the floor, feeling your hand fully pronate, okay? So the webbing of your thumb, it won't hit the ground, but you're trying to make it hit the ground. You're going to fully lock your elbows and turn out, okay? So my elbows are going that way. You're then going to a push-up position and you're going to almost like as if hyperextend your elbows and push your ribs back as far as you can into this position here. And then you're gonna breathe. Through the nose, out through the mouth whilst pushing into the ground as hard as you can. Okay, so what we're looking for there is exactly like those positions when we're doing those curls. We're gonna be getting upward rotation, protraction, anterior tilt of the scap, and we're also gonna be getting lengthening of that bicep head. So all those things that you feel in your biceps when you squat are probably gonna feel much better once you perform this sort of exercise. All right, well, hopefully that wraps up and makes your programming decisions a little bit easier when it comes to programming triceps and biceps. Just remember, you can definitely train arms when you do powerlifting. It's just that it can be much more calculated with a more knowledgeable approach to see what actually it can do to the human body. So I think first and foremost, as long as you understand your athlete, their composition, their, I guess, morphology, what sort of lifter they are in positions and where they need to benefit more from in exercise selection, then therefore it will justify where you should be putting your arm training for your program. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, let us know. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. And if you could also follow us on Instagram, that would help as well. Talk soon.